Hello and welcome. This is Angie with the CountryChicCottage.net here today with another edition of Cricut Basics. So this week we're talking about layering vinyl. So if you've ever wanted to make a layered vinyl design, this is definitely the video for you. So what we have is a trick to layer vinyl, and we're going to use 3 different kinds of vinyl and a free SVG file. So this is a sunflower SVG file, and I'll put a link where you can go download that in the description for this video. It's also Flower Week over on my blog, thecountrychicCottage.net. So if you want to see all types of projects with Cricut flowers, you can definitely head there all week long. So let's dive into layering vinyl for this sunflower design. So here I pulled our SVG into Cricut Design Space. Now I have another video on how to do that if you're confused on how to do that in all platforms on computer as well as iPhone and Android. So once I have the SVG pulled in, you can see that there are 3 different layers to this sunflower, and all 3 are cut layers. Now, I'm going to cut these out of vinyl and apply them to the surface, but they might be hard to layer once I have them cut. So a process to make that a bit easier. We're going to do shapes. We're going to pick square. We're going to make some small squares in the corner of this design. Location really doesn't matter, but you want 2 of them, 1 on either side. So we can actually locate these. So we're going to locate these at 12 and 1 and 1, 2 and 1. So 12 and 1 and 2 and 1. And then this set, I'm going to make I'm going to ungroup the sunflower, and then these squares, I'm going to make the first set the yellow. Okay, and then we're going to copy the squares and make another set. And I want these in the exact same position. So again, I'm going to pick 2 and 1. And I'm going to make this one the orange. Then I'm going to copy this one. Put it at 12 and 1. Make it orange. Repeat the same steps. Copy, paste, put it at 2 and 1. This time make it brown. Copy, paste, put at 12 and 1. This time make it brown. Now we want to pick the yellow squares with the yellow flower, group, attach. Pick the orange squares, the orange flower, group, attach. Brown squares, brown circle, group, attach. And then you can actually put them in the right order if you would like. So we would need to move that below. So now we can see our sunflower. We have squares that are all on top of one another that will cut at the same time when we cut our vinyl for our flowers themselves. So let's click Make It and then make our sunflower itself, and I'll show you how these squares work when actually layering your vinyl. So you can see the squares and the circle. I'm going to go back out and resize this for the surface that I'm going to be using. So you can see the squares are on each mat. Alright, so we're going to put the design on this coffee mug. And what I did is I went ahead and cut out those designs from 3 different colors of vinyl. And then we're just going to weed them using a weeding tool. So it cut out the design itself, plus those squares we added. So you'll have the squares, and then the design. So this is the circle in the center. So you want to weed all 3 pieces, and then we're going to use transfer tape. So transfer tape is just a sticky tape that goes over the top of your vinyl to help you move it all in one piece. In this case, it's going to help us layer these pieces together really easily and transfer the entire thing over to our coffee mug. Now, since we're using a coffee mug, you want to be sure to use permanent vinyl or some kind of vinyl like for outdoor use, that type of thing. So I want to start with the topmost layer, which would be the circle in this case. So we're going to peel back the transfer tape, and then we're going to put that right over the top of our circle. And then I'm picking up the squares as well. We're just going to peel back this liner piece, and the squares and the circle are on my transfer tape. And then we're going to go to the second layer. So the orange will be the bottom, the yellow is the next. So to help us line this up, that's what the squares are for. So we want to get the squares over the top of these other squares. Now, vinyl has a tendency to curl like this in some cases, depending on the brand. So I'm going to use a couple pieces of tape, and I'm going to stick those in the corner, and now it lies flat for me. You can also use your mat for that, so you could stick that right down to your mat instead of using the tape. I generally use the tape. So now we're lining those squares up at the top, and as long as those are right over the top of one another, so as long as those squares are right over the top of one another, I should be able to lay my design down, and it'll be in the perfect location. So again, we're going to use our tool to press that down. And now I'm just going to lift that tape up off of our work surface. And once again, we're going to peel back this liner piece. Again, we're going to leave the flower as well as the squares on the transfer tape, so we have those to line up our next piece. So everything's in location, and now we want to do the last and final layer. So again, I'm going to tape it to my work surface to keep it flat. Then I'm just going to use those squares to line everything up. And we laid that next layer down on there. And then we just want to pick everything up. This time, when we peel back this liner from the back, this time we actually don't need the squares with our design. We actually don't want the squares on the coffee mug. The squares were only to line up. So if they stick to the liner this time, that's fine. Mine did not. So what I'm going to do is use my weeding tool, and I'm just going to lift those squares off and set those to the side. So that technique allowed us to have our flower perfectly lined up without a lot of fuss, right? Because all we had to do is, as long as we lined up those squares, the design itself would be lined up. And now we can add that to our coffee mug. So you want to make sure your coffee mug is clean. I like to clean mine with rubbing alcohol, then allow that to dry just to make sure everything is nice and clean and dry. And then you just need to locate your flower on the mug. We'll start in the center and work our way out to both sides. We're just going to press that down with our tool and then peel back that transfer tape. And now you have a perfectly aligned vinyl design on your coffee mug. Pretty cool trick, right? So if you've ever had trouble layering vinyl, that trick is definitely for you. Can you do it without doing that? Yes, you can do it without adding the squares in Cricut Design Space. You would just need to be cautious when you layer your design. And some of the designs work pretty well without the squares. Others, I really need the squares to know where to line it up. So totally up to you. The squares are one option for layering vinyl right in Cricut Design Space. So thank y'all so much for joining me today. If you liked this video, give us a thumbs up. If you like more videos like this, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and scroll down on YouTube. We have tons of Cricut videos, including our Cricut Basics series, which is short videos that tells you the basics of your Cricut machine and how to use it. So thank you all so much for joining me today, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye.